What a fight. What a fight. Arguably one of the best bantamweight fights we've had in recent history, to the point where it went to a decision and fans were happy. They enjoyed it. There was no knockdown, there was no booing when the wrestling was going on. Fans genuinely enjoyed it. And I'd like to take this moment to apologize to Merab, because I thought Umar had gotten into his head. I thought he was afraid. The last video I made about Merab and Umar, I thought Umar might have just pulled a Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo mind bender on Merab, but that was not the case. Merab was game. The first 2 rounds were a bit shaky. I think a judge gave it 49-46, and I'm like, what the hell were you smoking? It was clearly 48-47. Umar won the first 2 rounds and Merab took over the last 3 rounds. Now, shout out to Merab, because from the get-go, the one thing I genuinely appreciated of his was his customized shorts. They were the most unique and the coolest from all the shorts at UFC 311, but that's besides the point. In the first round, Umar clearly won it. He landed the cleaner strikes. He had his kicks going. He was extremely, well, they were both extremely tentative for the first minute and a half of the fight. You could see they were extremely respectful, trying to analyze each other, fighting at distance, and that favored Umar more because he was able to land strikes at distance because he is the much taller and has the longer reach. Towards the end of the first round, Umar had hurt Merab and he did not go for the kill. In that moment, I was thinking to myself, that would have been the perfect opportunity for you to go and hurt this dude. Don't let this dude get a chance. But he wobbled Merab. Merab was clearly gazed, lost his legs, and Umar just stood there. He didn't even go for the kill, and I was like, what are you doing, Umar? This is your opportunity. Do not let Merab gain confidence. The second round started. Umar looked cleaner. Merab started putting in a bit of more pressure. He started making it a chaotic fight, but Umar was still landing the cleaner strikes. Merab went for the takedown. Umar sprawled brilliantly and defended the takedown and ended up taking Merab down. For the first time, I think Merab was taken down, and you could see for a moment Merab's confidence was a bit killed after Umar defended his takedown and took him down. But as the round was culminating, you could see Merab gaining success in the pressure. The more he pressured Umar, the more you could see Umar not handle it extremely well. And I'm sure at the end of the second round, even though Umar won, Merab's coaches told him, listen, pressure this dude. He does not like your pressure. If you pressure him, you will get the W. And that's what Merab did. Surprisingly, at the end of the second round, Khabib wanted Umar to wrestle a bit more, which I think was also detrimental for Umar because he started shooting for takedowns that were not successful. But because he was instructed to go for the takedowns and take Merab down, maybe based off of the success he had in the second round, he tried to go for takedowns, but he was extremely unsuccessful as Merab is extremely difficult to take down. Even the takedown that Umar landed, he landed it because Merab shot and he was able to counter Merab's offensive wrestling and end up in the dominant position. But in the third round, Merab's pace took over. He started pressuring Umar. He made it dirty. He was not letting Umar get the clean strikes. He said, screw the distance. I'm not going to make this a distance fight. And he pressured Umar, made it a dirty fight. Umar did land a few good kicks to the body, kicks to the legs. I just felt as though he was not throwing them enough and he did not use them to his benefit. And Merab won that round. This was the start of the Merab turnaround. The fourth round, Umar started letting his hands go. It appeared as though he was about to win the fourth round, or he was about to cement himself in the fourth round. But then Merab was like, nah, buddy. He pressured Umar. He pressured Umar. He wrestled Umar. And at this point, you could see that Umar was deflated. Umar started looking extremely tired. He looked exhausted. And that's when the pressure kicked in. That's when Merab knew that, hey, this dude does not want to be in here with me. And he pressured Umar, constantly going for takedown. He shot takedowns. Even though he was missing, he knew that Umar defending these takedowns was extremely tiring, because for the most part, the question was always asked, if Khabib fought someone who was not afraid to shoot for a takedown against Khabib, how would he fare? Hence, the fight with Tony Ferguson was always intriguing because it was someone who could maybe provide an offensive challenge to Khabib's wrestling instead of constantly trying to defend it. And that is what Merab did against Umar. He was constantly threatening Umar with offensive wrestling, even though he missed or even though he was not getting the takedown. This was different for Umar because he was not used, or he is not used to being in a position where he is constantly having to defend the wrestling. And Umar started looking sluggish and tired. And listen, Merab ended up winning this round. It was 38-38. Going into the fifth round, Merab kind of slowed down. Umar was starting to get clean. Khabib said, throw away the wrestling, focus on striking. You're doing well. The takedowns are not working. Just piece him up. And Umar was starting to piece him up until Merab wobbled Umar. And after wobbling Umar, he just took him down as though he was nothing, and then took him down again. And the showboating and the crowd, listen, had to play a factor in him winning that round. But he had the more damage in the fifth round. He wobbled Umar, he stunned Umar, he took Umar down about 3 times or 2 times, and that that was all she wrote. Merab won the last 3 rounds. It was reminiscent of Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane, where the challenger wins the first 2 rounds and then the champion realizes, hang on, I can use something that is a disadvantage for the challenger. In Francis' case, it was the wrestling for Cyril Gane, but in Merab's case, it was the cardio and the pressure and the constant takedown threat, the constant offensive wrestling that Umar is not used to. He's used to people defending his wrestling. It was an extremely intriguing fight. What a fight. Shout out to Merab. I genuinely apologize because I sincerely doubted Merab. Merab has to be Kenyan. Somehow he has the lungs of a marathon runner. Merab probably runs a marathon every day. The man can go for 10 rounds. He has that cardio. He has that pace. Like, at this point, I don't see any bantamweight taking the belts from Merab unless someone comes out of the shadows and becomes the next dominant force. And I think Umar is now going to be in a situation similar to Yuri Prochaska, where he is the next best guy, but he's just not good enough to beat the champion, unless we see something similar to Alexa Grasso and Shevchenko, where it's constant. We have like a trilogy, they fight each other 4 times, etc, until eventually Umar gets the belt, and then it's Umar's turn to run with the belt. I think Umar is still young. He is definitely next in line to be the champion. This was a fight between the best 2 bantamweights in the world right now. No one touches these 2. I just think at this moment Merab is the superior fighter. His experience, his cardio, his pressure all proved too much for Umar.